let's go ahead and get started. I'm dying. Hey, what's up? It's Katsu style here. Let's talk about mashups, or future funk, or whatever the fuck it's called. So to start off with, I hesitate to call this an actual proper step-by-step tutorial, mostly because this is my first time trying to put together a song like this. So this is more of like my experience in putting together the song and sort of how I went through that process. So hopefully it'll give some of you out there some ideas or maybe some inspiration on how to approach something like this. I'm gonna go through some stuff right off the top here, talking about sort of where I got the ideas for this song and sort of how I started to put everything together. But if you want to skip to the actual like meat and potatoes of the production process, you can skip ahead. I will put a little time code in the description. So I think the seed for this song was planted almost a year ago when I heard a song from a Japanese producer called Tofu Beats, who coincidentally is also who I got the idea for my name from. Anyways, he has this song called... Okay. So the song is called... Why did I pull it up there? I could have just pulled it up on my phone. Hang on. Wait. Okay. He has a song called MVJ. It's a really intuitive name, and that's why I chose it. So yeah, I thought it was a really, really fun track, and I was really digging it. Months pass, I'm sort of ruminating on this song, and I'm like, I want to make something like that. I have no clue how, until I saw a tutorial on YouTube for a future funk song.
Yo, what's up? Today, we're making a future funk track.
Now, I didn't even know what the future funk was. I listened to it, I just didn't know it had that name, which is why I hesitate to call this future funk, because I don't know if it really qualifies. I mean, basically I'm taking 80s and 90s Japanese pop songs and sort of recontextualizing them within this sort of house vibe. Which I guess is sort of what future funk boils down to. Anyways, I came across a tutorial from a guy called Praxi Plays, and he does some really cool tutorials, and when I had seen this one on future funk that I just sort of stumbled across, it all sort of clicked. Like, this song that I had heard from Tofu Beats, and then seeing this tutorial, it all just came together. I was like, that's probably what it was. It was like a mashup, or, you know, sort of like a live, like, remix, or something. I don't know why, but it took me way too long to sort of connect those dots. So the first thing I want to talk about is finding the proper songs for this sort of a project. So if you go on YouTube and you search for like 80s Japanese city pop, you're gonna see a ton of results that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of hits on them. And I feel like there are probably a lot of people who have sampled from, you know, this cluster of songs. Fortunately, I'm very Japanese, so I grew up listening to a lot of this stuff from that era. So I drew from that to try and find inspiration in a song that maybe not a whole lot of Western audiences have heard, or might not be the first hit that you would find in 80s Japanese city pop searches. If you want some ideas on finding stuff like this and you didn't grow up listening to it, not to worry. I think one of the things that might help is trying different search terms like Japanese singles. No. Maybe like J-pop singles for like a certain year, like maybe like 1980s J-pop hits or top J-pop charts for like a given decade, and then go through it that way to see if you can find anything that catches your ear. This way you're not limiting your search to one very specific subgenre of like 80s Japanese pop. The other thing is, I think it helps to have an idea for the kind of vibe that you want the song to have. I wanted this very funky, fun, party-like atmosphere, and I knew I wanted to achieve that with like funky bass lines and a lot of brass. And eventually I landed on Meiko Nakahara's Fantasy. And the other song that I picked was a song from the Bubblegum Brothers called Won't Be Long. This is one that I had heard before, and I specifically remember hearing as a kid. So it was a lot of fun to sort of revive this for myself and recontextualize it here. I actually did throw in a third song called Choo Choo Train, although I wasn't able to really incorporate it in a way that it was that notable, and we'll go into that here in a second. And then a last minute addition was I sampled a vocal a cappella from a Tribe Called Quest's song, Can I Kick It?
Can I kick it? to my tribe that flows in layers.
Which I love, like old school hip hop, and this is one of my favorite songs of that genre. So I decided, you know, why not throw it into something like this to really sort of seal in that whole aesthetic, I guess. All right, I think that's it for all of the introductory stuff. Hopefully you've stuck through this portion, but yeah, let's actually get into the software and do things. Here we are in Ableton, and we are going to start here in the session view. Since this was my first time approaching something like this, I knew that I wanted to try and stay as organized as possible. So I started by bringing my 3 songs into their own audio track. So we've got Fantasy, we've got Choo Choo Train, and then we've got Won't Be Long. So now I got to get all these songs to match with each other and to match my project BPM. So the tempo that I set for this one was 128, and then I went ahead and I warped all my tracks to match that tempo. So Fantasy luckily is right around 128, so I really didn't have to do a whole lot with that. I'm not going to go into the specifics of warping a track in Ableton. There's a lot of tutorials on that do a far better job than I would. Once we've got those in here and we've got them beat matched properly, the next thing is making sure that they'll actually work together harmonically. Fantasy wound up sort of being the main through line in the song, and I sort of worked around that. So I used this song as a template, so I left it where it was at with its key, but I needed to get these two to match. So the way that I did that, and there are a few different ways you can go about this. You could use software like Virtual DJ, which is free. What I did was I used this tool called Key Finder. They did drop support for Windows in retrospect. I probably should have just used Virtual DJ, but whatever. Old habits. Something. So, if we load up our songs, and then we hit Run Batch Analysis, Fantasy being the song that we're really working around, that's in G minor according to this app, and then Won't Be Long is sitting at B flat minor, and then Choo Choo Train is at A minor. So, we've got some options. We could either transpose these songs to all be in the same key, or we could transpose these songs in another key that would work well with our key of G minor. So that's what I did. I wanted to give this a little more harmonic color and a little more variety, so I opted for that route. So next step is, how do we actually do that? I used something that you're probably all very familiar with. This is the harmonic mixing, the Camelot harmonic mixing wheel. Basically, the way this works is that this will tell you what keys will work well with another. So if we are in G minor, which is right here, if we're in G minor, then basically this means that we can mix with D minor or C minor or B flat major. So the idea is you can either go to adjacent sections here on this wheel, or you can go in and out. So let's take a look at Won't Be Long to start. So this is at B flat minor. We need to get it either to C minor, G minor, D minor, or B flat major. So what I did was I sort of made this judgment based on how far I would have to transpose the actual song, and there are limits to this. So if you push it too far, then you're gonna start distorting the actual track. So with this song being in B flat minor, I wound up transposing it up 2 semitones. So if we start in B flat minor and we go up 2 semitones, that should put us right around C minor. I like to transpose up if I can help it, just because it has sort of, to me, it just sort of has a brighter sort of sound, rather than going down, which would kind of give it more of like a darker or a warmer sound. So looking at Choo Choo Train, we had a few things to contend with. Choo Choo Train sits at A minor. So looking at Choo Choo Train in A minor, if we wanted to get to C, we could go up 1, 2, 3 semitones, which isn't too bad. Or we could go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 semitones to put us in D minor. Or we could go down 2 semitones to land around G minor. In this case, I probably should have transposed down just to see how it sounded, but regardless, I transposed up. I chose not to go to C minor, since that is where we landed with Won't Be Long. So again, to add a little more variety, I tried to push it up to D minor. So that was 5 semitones. The result of that is that I think I pushed it a little bit too far, and it started to sound a bit thin. So you can hear that the vocals just start to get almost kind of chiptune-y, and we start to lose a lot of that bottom end. So now that we've got all of our songs in keys that will work with each other, we need to start sort of organizing our track here. So what I did from here was, you can see here, I just basically went in and I just played through the song and listened for little things that stood out to me that I thought were interesting that I could use as fills, stuff like that. So again, this is where having an idea for the song already in mind sort of helps out, because you have an idea of what to look for. Here's a really cool thing. This song sort of had like a really natural, pretty tense build-up. Alright, and then looking at Choo Choo Train. That's one that I think I wound up using quite a bit. And then let's look at Won't Be Long. Once I've got all of those cut up and arranged, it's time to actually start putting the thing together. So this video wound up being way longer than I had initially planned. So if you want to find out how I actually put together the rest of the song, you'll have to find out next time on Dragon Ball.